Hello and welcome to Rec to Redeemed, where we confront the complex realities of racism and faith. I am your girl, Kavana, and today we are going to be talking about this diabolical, despicable, what's the word? Phrase that this Pastor Giglio wanted to deem as white blessing. I'm not even sure if that even just made sense. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please go ahead and Google, go on Twitter, YouTube, Pastor Giglio, Lecrae, white blessings, and you will hear it for yourself. Guys, this whole situation has caused me to realize, not even just to realize, but it's a perfect moment to bring up the subject. And I told my husband this. He didn't believe me. At least he didn't know what I was talking about. But this is the best unfortunate example of that. And that is that some folks, when I go into these conversations, and honestly, they're starting these conversations a little too soon. Now, what do I mean by this? I am not saying that folks should not have conversations. And I'm not even saying that that certain people shouldn't be in conversations. Actually, no. I take that back. I am saying that. What I'm saying is just that I feel like there are three elements that need to be present or should have already been dealt with before going into conversations about race. And it's because people, I feel like some people aren't taking these steps, that moments like what happened in that sit down happen. So the first one is that there needs to be humility, okay? The second is a person should have already gone through, and when I'm saying a person, I'm talking about a person who, whether you're white or non-black or even a black person that has just awoken to the issues of racial injustice in this country, police brutality and everything else. And yeah, so already go through the process of repentance. And I mean, the repentance will be continual, but started that process and has some time to marinate in that process, and also having the time to self-educate. And the reason why I am saying that those three elements are so important is because what ends up happening, and I've had it happen in my own way in conversations that I've had, and even myself when I was dealing with some internalized racism and I didn't believe that racism still existed, and I believed in some white supremacist thoughts. If you are curious as to what those things were, please check out my video right here, or it's over here somewhere. It'll be right here. But what I have experienced myself, within myself and of others, is that what ends up happening is that you want to lead the discussion, or you want to teach. And when you are just coming to an understanding or really getting your feet really wet in this topic, you cannot be a part of leading any element of the discussion. You cannot. This is a time to genuinely just sit and listen. And sit, listen, deal with your heart, deal with so many, like all of that, like that's what needs to be present, not just nose diving into let's have a conversation, because there's going to be moments, and if you know what I'm talking about, let me know your stories in the comment section below, but you end up having many moments of frustration because they either don't know the history, so you're constantly explaining, constantly giving examples, giving them a whole breakdown history lesson, and there'll be a back and forth of, oh, maybe that's not really what happened. Oh, no, and there's a back and forth there sometimes, and the person who is inexperienced and knows the least about this topic wants to lead the discussion. They want to have their input be the point at which is directing this conversation, and or even be solidified as facts in this conversation. And that's where you end up just saying ridiculous things. You say ridiculous things, and there are some things you've already took upon yourself to internalize as true. Because, I mean, at least it seemed like to me, I don't know about you, but to me it seemed like, in drawing the comparison between the curse of the cross with the curse of slavery, and then the blessing that come through Jesus with the blessing of white supremacy. I mean, you thought about that. There was a true thought process that went into why you would believe that. And so it's starting to slow down, sorry. So I encourage you, if you are a non-black individual, or just, I should say, if you're new to the wokeness, if you're new to the wokeness, I would encourage you to go into conversations with those three elements: humility, repentance, and self-education. And that, I believe, is a recipe for success. I believe that is a recipe for true progress in these conversations. And so, yeah. Secondly, I also want to speak to something that I've been seeing a lot and hearing a lot, and that is that people who are new to this are also afraid to speak at all. Like they don't want to offend people. They don't want to say the wrong thing. They are deathly afraid. And, I can understand that. I feel like that fear is valid. But what I will encourage you with is to honestly let it go, because you're going to mess up. You're going to say something stupid. You are. It's going to be embarrassing. It's going to be upsetting. It's going to be frustrating. You're going to get mad. You're going to feel terrible. You're going to feel all of these things. I felt it. I know. Okay. So I feel you. Okay. I feel you. And that is you. And so, just know that if you're just starting in this, you're a baby who is crawling. It happens with babies who are learning to crawl. They fall. The same with walking. Same with running. You're going to fall. You're going to mess up. Fall forward. And I feel like that's something that's great about what Pastor Giglio did, is that he fell forward. If you offend somebody, apologize. There was a huge outpour, of just all the offense of what this pastor said. I mean, of course, it was also that it seemed like Lecrae was agreeing, because he was nodding his head and everything. But focus back on Pastor Giglio. There was a lot of anger around what he said, rightfully so, and he apologized for it. He apologized several times about it, and I feel like this also serves as a teachable moment for all of us, regardless of which side you are on in this, whether you're new or you're old, and or whether you've been explaining to everybody. I'm sorry, I'm about to go down a rabbit hole. I'm sorry. I digress. I feel like this is a great opportunity to point out that when you mess up and people get upset with you, don't get upset because people were upset and yelled at you or made you feel terrible or whatever it is. Like, don't even get upset about it. Just take it, because you are dealing with, for some people, y'all, they are carrying the weight of their ancestors in their spirit. They are just carrying their pain, their cries for help, their cries for justice. They are carrying all of that. And so, this is a healing process, but know that a healing ain't gonna happen unless there is repentance. A healing ain't gonna happen unless there are apologies given. Healing ain't gonna happen, y'all. It's not. to the extent where it needs to be. Of course, we have our own healing and our own walks with God, of course. But when it comes to our interpersonal relationships, what we need are sincere apologies. What we do need is true repentance, a turning away from the way that we used to think, behave, interact with others. Everything needs to do a complete 180. You hear me? So it's like, oh, I said, you hear me? I wasn't talking at you. Sorry. But, you know, yeah. But I mean, I'm saying that to say that this is what will heal us as a people. So if you apologize, take it as an opportunity to heal the wound that was caused by your comment, and also a step towards healing for the wounds of every comment like that a black individual has heard. You know what I'm saying? Like, see that as an opportunity. This is bigger than you. This is centuries worth of wounds we are working to work through and heal. You heard? So I want to kiss that girl. But I want to encourage you in that. And brothers and sisters, for those who do offend us, you know, again, like if we have the right to be offended, fine. You know, I think that also what's important is to make sure that our hearts don't want to shred a person apart, because there are some people. There's one brother my husband told me about. He said, I will crush their white fragility to their face. He was so passionate about crushing. It was terrible. I mean, it was hilarious, but it was oh gosh. Okay. So, I mean, especially as believers, being aware of how we're communicating with somebody, I think, is important. I'm not going to tell you how to communicate your pain. I will never do that. But just to be cognizant of that, that we may glorify God in how we communicate our pains. That's what I will encourage. Oh man, if I'm lagging, that sucks. Am I good now? Okay, good. So yes, just like how I shared in my last video about internalized racism, if you haven't seen that one, I'll link it up here as well. One of the ways that we can come alongside each other, black, non-black, woke, not just woke up, is to support one another, give to one another, support and assist each other as we are growing in this journey towards an anti-racist society. We need each other in this. It isn't for those who are committed to that common goal. We are in this together, and so we can't, even in these conversations when we do have them, we're not against one another. And I would just encourage all of us to keep that in mind, and to encourage each other and to put each other in that light. Hallelujah. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you think that it will help anybody you know, please share it. And if you haven't already, please subscribe and ring that notification bell so that you will be notified every new video. Thank you so much for joining me. I'll see you next time. Peace out.